2026 is officially here, which means 2025 is behind us. And with a new year comes a moment I've been meaning to get back to for a long time. In this video, I want to clearly lay out my full bullish thesis for XRP going into 2026. I talk a lot about individual pieces of XRP, payments, liquidity, partnerships, regulation, but it's honestly been a while since I stepped back and shared the entire picture of why I'm still so bullish on this asset. So consider this a New Year's reset, a chance to put everything on the table. Before we jump in, I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported this channel over the years. It's been a wild ride, especially the way 2025 wrapped up, and I genuinely appreciate everyone who's been here through the highs, the lows, and the uncertainty. If you find value in these videos, liking and subscribing truly helps more than you might realize. All right, let's get into it. I want to start by answering an important question. How has my original XRP thesis held up compared to what I believed when I first invested? When I initially entered crypto, I was honestly skeptical of the entire industry. I owned some Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I didn't fully believe in the long-term vision yet. Bitcoin interested me because of its decentralization and fixed supply, but as a currency, it never made much sense. It was slow, expensive, and limited in functionality. Ethereum felt more promising with smart contracts, but at the time it also felt experimental. Constant upgrades, shifting narratives, unclear economics. It didn't feel like finished infrastructure. Then I came across XRP. At first, it was difficult to take seriously. There was overwhelming FUD, bizarre narratives in parts of the community, and non-stop claims that XRP was centralized, dead, or a scam. It took time to filter out the noise.
What changed everything for me was listening to early conversations from Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson, and David Schwartz, long before regulatory pressure forced everyone to speak in carefully worded sound bites. They weren't talking about quick profits or selling software to banks. They were talking about rebuilding global liquidity. That's when it clicked. One lesson I've learned as an investor is this: you don't have to be the genius who builds the future. You just need to recognize the people who are. Some people create world-changing ideas. Others identify them early and align themselves accordingly. What stood out to me about Ripple's leadership was that they weren't chasing trends. They were aiming at something far bigger, a neutral global liquidity asset that could operate above borders, politics, and trust assumptions. That's when my perspective on XRP fundamentally changed. I stopped viewing it as just another cryptocurrency and started seeing it as a new financial primitive, something the global system has never had before. A hyperliquid, decentralized asset with no counterparty risk. That idea alone reframed everything. If you study financial crises, especially 2008, you quickly realize that most systemic failures stem from counterparty risk and liquidity mismatches. The world runs on trust-based systems that don't actually trust each other. Despite decades of innovation, banking rails themselves have never been truly modernized. We've built better apps on top of broken infrastructure. Crypto was the first real solution to that problem. For a long time, I wondered if something better than crypto would come along. By 2025, that question was answered. Instead of being replaced, crypto was validated, not by retail hype, but by the very institutions that once dismissed it. Banks, governments, and financial giants didn't discover an alternative. They adopted crypto. That was a turning point for my conviction.
Early on, my biggest concern with XRP was simple. Would it even be allowed to exist? Could it be banned, labeled a security, regulated out of relevance? Fast forward to today, and the narrative couldn't be more different. The US is openly positioning itself to become a global crypto hub. XRP survived the harshest regulatory stress test in the industry and came out stronger. That alone eliminated a massive amount of existential risk. My long-term thesis has always aligned with Ripple's original vision: XRP as a supranational reserve liquidity asset. If gold, an illiquid, slow-moving rock, can justify a $30+ trillion market cap, then what is a digital, instantly transferable, programmable version of that worth? An asset with instant settlement, no counterparty risk, global accessibility, interoperability across institutions. In my view, that's not a trillion-dollar asset. That's an order of magnitude asset. When new technology replaces legacy systems, it doesn't match old valuations, it exceeds them.
One of the most important lessons I learned came from investing in Tesla. For years, Tesla was ridiculed. Lawsuits, media attacks, skepticism, it never stopped. And the entire time I kept asking myself, why doesn't the market see this? The truth hit me later. If the market already saw it, the opportunity wouldn't exist. Being early feels uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the price of asymmetric returns. I promised myself I wouldn't repeat that mistake. I won't abandon a well-reasoned thesis just because the market hasn't caught up yet. At its core, my bullish thesis is simple. I believe XRP is evolving into neutral, pristine global liquidity, a foundational asset the modern financial system requires but has never had. Most people still think of XRP as a payments token. That tells me we're early. As XRP continues integrating with institutions, improving interoperability, and proving real-world utility, the market will eventually be forced to reprice it. Until then, my job isn't to react, it's to evaluate fundamentals. And heading into 2026, I've never been more confident in them. Thanks for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'm excited for what's ahead. We're just getting started.